I'm Pastor Freda, chaplain of Passive and Community and pastor of Seaman Memorial Lutheran Church. A reading from Luke chapter 15. There was a man who had 2 sons. The younger of them said to his father, "Father, give me the share of the property that will belong to me." So he divided his property between them. A few days later, the younger son gathered all he had and traveled to a distant country, and there he squandered his property in dissolute living. When he had spent everything, a severe famine took place throughout that country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to be one of the citizens of that country, who sent him to the fields to feed the pigs. He would gladly have filled himself with the pods that the pigs were eating, and no one gave him anything. But when he came to himself, he said, "How many of my father's hired hands have bread enough and to spare? But here I am, dying of hunger. I will get up and go to my father, and I will say to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me like one of your hired hands.' So he set off and went to his father. But while he was still far off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion. He put his arms around him and kissed him. Then the son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son.' But the father said to his slaves, 'Quickly, bring out a robe, the best one, and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet, and get the fatted calf and kill it, and let us eat and celebrate. For the son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found.' And they began to celebrate. Now the elder son was in the field, and when he came and approached the house, he heard music and dancing. He called one of the slaves and asked what was going on. He replied, 'Your brother has come, and your father has killed the fatted calf, because he has got him back safe and sound.' Then he became angry and refused to go in. His father came out and began to plead with him. But he answered his father, 'Listen, for all these years I have been working like a slave for you, and I have never disobeyed your command. Yet you have never given me even a young goat, so that I might celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours came back, who has devoured your property with prostitutes, you killed the fatted calf for him.' Then the father said to him, 'Son, you are always with me, and what is mine is yours. But we had to celebrate and rejoice, because this brother of yours was dead and has come to life. He was lost and has been found.'" So, let's talk about each of the figures in this parable. The father. This was a culture that was based on honor and shame, and to give the inheritance to someone before he died, that was not the right thing to do. And when the younger son comes home, the father runs to greet him. In that culture, the father would not be the one to run to the son. The son should be the one coming to the father. The father is forgiving, filled with compassion, and the father welcomes the son home. The father orders that a feast be prepared and dresses him in the best clothes, places him, restores him to the place of honor as his son. So let's look at the younger son. He actually had the nerve to ask his father for the inheritance while his father was still alive. And the father, shockingly, gives it to him and his brother. A few days later, the younger son takes off and he squanders the money. And then there's a famine in the land, and he has no food. And he finds himself feeding the pigs. Now, remember, this was a Jewish person, and being near pigs would make him unclean. He decides, I'm going to go back to my father and offer to be his servant. He even rehearses what he's going to say when he comes home. Father, forgive me, I'm not worthy to be called your son. I've sinned against you. He had to be pretty nervous, I'm guessing. Not knowing how he would be welcomed or not, how his father would react. It's always scary, the unknown. Let's look at the older son. The older son was what you might call the dutiful one, and he stays with his father and he works in the fields day after day. So he comes back from a hard day work in the field and he wonders what's going on, because he hears music, and when the servant tells him, let's just say that elder son is none too happy, he won't even go in. Now, in doing this, he is disrespecting his father by making his father come out to him. And again, the father comes to his son and says, we should celebrate. We should have this feast. This father, this brother of yours has come home. The interesting thing about this parable is that we don't know how the story ends. Did the father convince the older son to go in? Did they have a fight and never reconcile? There are all kinds of possibilities that we can think about. Throughout our lives, there are times we are like each of the characters in the parable. Sometimes we are the one, like the father, who welcomes a wayward person home. Sometimes we are the one that is lost and goes off and then maybe returns home. Sometimes we are the one that has stayed behind and been faithful and gets angry because we don't understand why the things happened the way they did. God always welcomes us home, even when we stray, and God always comes to us wherever we are. No matter how lost we are, no matter how far we stray, God is with us and always welcomes us home and always comes to us. Peace and blessings.